"We don't need another nanny," the boy growled, hiding his trembling fingers behind his back. His twin sister just stared, blank-eyed, at the woman in the doorway like she was already a ghost. But she only smiled and said, "Lucky for you, I'm not just another nanny. Hi, my beautiful family. I have missed you all. Thank you so for sticking around with me. I truly appreciate your love and support." If you're already hooked in for today's story and ready to enjoy it, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one, and you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. The rain hadn't stopped in 3 days. Not that Ethan Rourke noticed. Rain was just weather. What mattered were the contracts on his desk, the code-red email from Singapore, the quarterly board meeting that couldn't be moved, and the fact that yet another nanny had walked out, this time through the service entrance, mascara smudged and suitcase dragging behind her like defeat. He stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office, a glass of untouched whiskey in one hand. Behind him the office lights hummed low, sterile. "Third one this month," muttered Jenna, his assistant, as she hovered near the door. "That makes 11 since January." Ethan didn't flinch. "Replace her. They're starting to blacklist us. Word's out, no one's taking the job anymore." He turned, slow, deliberate, then tripled the offer. Jenna hesitated. "Maybe it's not about the money, sir." That got a flicker, just a flicker, but enough. A tightening of his jaw, a flash in the eyes, then it was gone. "Just find someone who won't crumble. I don't have time for weakness." 3 subway stops and 2 buses later, Isla Morgan stood in front of the iron gates, soaked to the bone and barely clinging to her manila envelope of credentials. She hadn't applied for this job. Someone else had sent her name in, someone she hadn't spoken to in a year. "You're wasting your time," the guard at the gate had muttered as he buzzed her in. "They chew through nannies like gum." Isla just smiled softly. "Then I'll be flavorless." The mansion loomed like a fortress. Marble, chrome, glass, cold, perfect. She stepped inside and heard nothing. Not a child's laugh, not a clock's tick, just silence, heavy, expectant. She was led upstairs by a housekeeper who wouldn't make eye contact. And then they appeared. At the top of the stairs, like tiny sentries, stood 2 children. A boy with fire in his eyes and fists clenched tight. A girl, arms crossed, gaze blank, and too old for her years. "They always leave," the boy muttered. "Bet she's gone by tomorrow." Isla crouched down, her voice gentle but firm. "Good thing I'm not always." They said nothing, but something flickered behind the girl's eyes, something that reminded Isla of herself. And far above, in his glass tower, Ethan Rourke read her file without interest. Former teacher, degree in child psychology, background check clean, not much else. She'd be gone in 48 hours, just like the rest. But that night, as he poured another drink, he found himself glancing at the nursery camera feed. The kids were still awake. And the nanny? She was sitting on the floor between them, a flashlight under her chin, reading from a book and making ridiculous voices. And both twins were laughing, actually laughing. Ethan stared at the screen for a long time. Then he turned it off. The next morning, the mansion was quiet, but not the usual kind. Not the sterile, suffocating silence Ethan Rourke had grown used to, but something different, like the house was waiting. Isla was up before the staff, wandering the kitchen barefoot, sleeves rolled to her elbows. A pot of hot chocolate simmered on the stove. Not instant, real chocolate, shavings and all. The chef appeared, startled. "That's not in the menu plan. Neither are nightmares," she said softly. "But the kids had 3 last night." He paused, said nothing, then silently handed her a whisk. Upstairs, Ethan stood outside the nursery door, listening. Laughter. He didn't know what unnerved him more, their silence, or the sound of them laughing again. Something about it made his throat tight. He stepped in. The twins froze. The boy Liam dropped his spoon. The girl Lena tensed. Isla looked up, smiled. "Hot chocolate before breakfast. I take full responsibility, Mr. Rourke." Her voice was steady, unapologetic, soft, but not submissive. He studied her. "Is that your approach to discipline?" "No, that's my approach to healing." His jaw worked. but he said nothing, just turned and left. Behind him Liam whispered, "Told you he hates smiles." The incident began with something small. Liam had refused to wear shoes. Isla tried playfulness first, then reasoning, then silence. Finally, she sat down beside him on the marble floor, shoes in her lap, and said nothing. After a while, he looked up, eyes guarded. "You're not mad?" "I don't believe in fighting battles that come from wounds." He blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means I think your feet want to feel the floor because you're trying to feel something real, and that's okay." Something cracked in him, just a flicker, but he handed her the shoes. 10 minutes later, Lena dropped a glass vase. It shattered. She didn't flinch. Ethan, summoned by the noise, arrived in seconds. He saw the shards, the shaking maid, the frozen girl. "What happened?" His voice was sharp. "She dropped it," the maid said. "She didn't say sorry." Isla stepped forward. "She doesn't need to." He turned on her. "Excuse me? She didn't do it to be careless. She did it to see if anyone would notice. That's not misbehavior. That's grief." The air went still. Lena looked down. Ethan opened his mouth, but Isla gently knelt beside Lena and whispered something. The girl nodded, then barely audible, "Sorry," not to her father, to the maid. Isla sat alone in the guest quarters, fingers resting on a well-worn journal she hadn't opened in years. A photograph peeked from inside, a little boy with sandy curls. Her chest tightened, but she didn't cry. The door creaked. Lena stood there, silent. She stepped in, walked across the room, and climbed into Isla's lap without a word. No child had done that in years. Ethan sat in his study, whiskey untouched again. He watched the camera feed, not as a CEO monitoring staff, as a man watching something he didn't understand, but couldn't look away from. He saw Lena curled in the nanny's arms, saw Isla's fingers gently stroke her hair, and he remembered how she used to do that, before the accident, before the silence swallowed them whole. He closed the laptop, and for the first time in years, he felt something other than control. Do you think Isla is healing the kids, or herself? Let us know in the comments, what do you think happened in her past that makes her connect so deeply? Ethan Rourke liked predictability, spreadsheets, control, deals that made sense on paper. Feelings were a luxury, one he had buried years ago with his wife. But now, the house was full of sound. Footsteps in the hallway, laughter downstairs, a smell of cinnamon rolls on a Wednesday morning, books stacked on the coffee table, children's books, with dog-eared pages and sticky notes in Isla's looping handwriting. The children were changing, and it terrified him. That morning, Isla stood at his office door. "I'd like to talk," she said. He didn't look up. "I have 10 minutes. I only need 5. She stepped in, quiet but unwavering. "There's something your children need, and it's not more discipline." He looked up then, expression unreadable. "You've been here 4 days. "Yes. And in 4 days, they've slept through the night. That didn't happen by accident." He folded his hands. "So now you're an expert on my children?" "No," she said. "But I know pain when I see it, and I know fear, and those two are drowning in both." Ethan's jaw tightened. "And what do you propose, Miss Morgan? That I drop everything and sing lullabies?" "No," she said softly. "Just open the door, even a crack." He stood, cold, controlled. "This is your 5th day. That's a record. Let's not ruin it." She met his eyes. There was no anger in hers, only sadness. "For them, not for me." Lena sat at the window, staring at the gray sky. Liam stormed through the hallway, angry again. Ella had canceled their tablet time after a tantrum. "She's not like the others," Lena said quietly. "She's pretending," Liam snapped. Lena looked down, whispered, "What if she's not?" Liam didn't answer, because if she wasn't pretending, then she might leave for real, and that scared him more than anything. Later that night, Ethan found himself in the garage. He hadn't been down there in years. Covered in sheets was the old piano, the one Ava used to play, the one he said they didn't need after the accident. His hand hovered over the dusty keys. He didn't play, didn't touch it, just stood there breathing. Then he turned and left. Upstairs, Ella watched him from the landing, not following, not confronting, just seeing him. Day 6. It happened during reading time. Liam lashed out, tore a page from the book Ella was holding. "Go ahead," he shouted. "Leave like the rest of them." Ella didn't scold. She simply gathered the torn pages. "Why do you keep pretending we're worth it?" he cried. She knelt beside him. "Because someone once pretended I wasn't, and it almost ruined me." He blinked. shaking, but wouldn't cry. She held out her arms. He didn't move, but later, after the others had gone, he slipped the torn page under her door, a peace offering. In her room, Ella opened her journal again. She didn't write in it, just traced the name written on the inside cover, then closed the book and whispered, "I'm trying." From his office, Ethan watched the nursery feed again. The twins curled beside Ella, listening to her hum, a tune he remembered, a lullaby Ava used to sing. He didn't know how Ella knew it, but it hit him like a punch to the chest. He shut the screen and locked the office door behind him. What would you do if love threatened to break the walls you built to survive? Tell us in the comments. Is Ethan being protective, or is he running? It started with thunder. A rare storm swept through the city, fierce and unexpected. Roads flooded, trees bent low. The wind howled like grief with a voice. And just like that, plans were canceled. Meetings, events, commutes. Even Ethan Rourke, the man who ran empires from his phone, found himself grounded. No drivers, no internet, no way out. Power's out in the East Wing, the housekeeper reported. The backup generators only powering the core systems, Jenna added. Most of the staff are heading home. Ethan barely glanced up from his laptop. They can go. What about the children? He paused. They're with her. They'll be fine. Isla lit candles slowly, carefully. The twins hovered close, Lena clutching her sleeve, Liam pretending he wasn't scared. She made a tent out of sheets and flashlights, told stories by candlelight. But even through the laughter, the thunder shook the windows, and the children's eyes kept darting toward the door, toward where he wasn't. Ethan stood in her doorway, rain streaking down the hallway window behind him. He looked tired, but something more than that. "Can I come in?" She nodded. He stepped into the flickering candlelight, his eyes adjusted slowly. Lena ran to him first, silent, fast, like it surprised even her. She wrapped her arms around his waist. He froze, then awkwardly, stiffly placed his hand on her back. Liam watched, wary. "You're scared," Ethan said softly. Lena didn't answer. Isla did. "She's not afraid of the storm. She's afraid of the silence." He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, really saw her. By evening they were all in the main lounge, the only part of the house with power. Ethan sat on the couch, tie loosened, Isla on the floor beside the twins, who had finally fallen asleep, curled between pillows. It was strangely domestic, too quiet, too intimate. "You did this," he said suddenly. She looked up. "You made them trust again." Isla didn't smile. "No, they always wanted to. I just gave them permission." A beat passed. Ethan swallowed. "I don't know how to do this." She raised an eyebrow. "Be a father," he said. "I keep trying to manage them like employees, but they're not." "No," she said. "They're people, small ones, loud ones, but people." His eyes drifted to the sleeping twins. "I thought love was supposed to come easy. It doesn't, especially when it's broken before it begins." Something flickered in him then. Recognition, guilt, maybe even grief. She reached for the blanket, tucking it around the twins. Her hands lingered. Then she said it, so quietly, he almost missed it. "I lost my son." Ethan stilled. His name was Micah. He was 6. She didn't look at him. "It was a drunk driver. I was late picking him up from school. That 10-minute delay, it changed everything." The room was silent. Ethan said nothing, not because he didn't want to, because he didn't know how. So he did the only thing he could. He sat on the floor beside her, shoulder to shoulder, and didn't move. Outside, lightning flashed. The storm howled. Inside, 2 people sat in silence. Not the cold kind, the healing kind. The kind that says, "I see you. I'm still here." Have you ever found unexpected comfort in someone who was once a stranger? Comment below. Do you think Isla's sharing will pull Ethan closer or push him away? The storm had passed, but the sky remained heavy, gray, waiting, watching. The twins were at school. The mansion felt strangely hollow. Ethan had disappeared into meetings, and Isla was left alone in the East Wing, sorting through the twins' clothes for donation. That's when she found it. It was tucked beneath Liam's bed, wedged tightly, like it had been hidden on purpose. She hesitated before pulling it out, not because she was afraid, but because something told her this was not meant to be found. Inside was a collection of drawings, scribbled stick figures, broken crayons, some joyful, others heartbreaking. One showed a woman with golden hair and angel wings. "Mommy," it read. Another showed two children in a house, windows blacked out, rain above. A large man in a suit stood far away, facing the other direction. And the last one, it was crumpled. A funeral, a child's depiction, stick figures in suits, a coffin. The father, drawn with sharp, angry lines, stood in the back, alone. Isla sat on the bench in the garden, the box beside her. When Ethan approached, she didn't look at him. "I found it under Liam's bed." He froze, didn't speak. She opened the box, slowly pulling out the drawing of the funeral. "They think you hated her," Isla said softly. Ethan's voice, when it came, was flat. "I didn't. I know." She turned to face him. His mask was slipping, but still holding, barely. "Then why did you grieve in silence?" she asked. "Why did you teach them that pain should be hidden?" His eyes darkened. "Because I didn't have the luxury of falling apart." Silence. "Then, I met Ava when I was 22, he said. "She was the only thing that ever made me slow down." Isla didn't move. She wanted a family more than anything. "I kept saying we had time, and then one day we didn't." His hands were clenched now, white-knuckled. "She died in a car crash while I was in Tokyo. She was on her way to the hospital. Lena had a fever. I told her I'd send a driver. She said she'd go herself." A breath, then another. "I missed the funeral. Got stranded in the airport. The kids were too young to remember much. And I buried everything, because I thought that was strength." Isla's voice was barely a whisper. "And instead you made them feel like their grief was shameful." He flinched. "I thought shielding them would protect them," he said. "But it didn't." "No," he said quietly. "It didn't." She stepped closer, not accusing, not attacking, just present. "They don't need a protector, Ethan. They need a father. One who grieves with them, not around them." His shoulders sank. "I don't know how. You learn," she said, "or you lose them." The twins returned from school to find their father in the living room. He was holding the box, and he looked different. He called them over. He showed them the drawings, told them stories about their mother, her laugh, her terrible dancing, how she used to make pancakes shaped like animals. Liam listened with wide eyes. Lena cried, and Ethan held them both, for the first time, not as a man doing his duty, but as a father, allowing himself to feel. From the hallway, Isla watched, and smiled. She was walking through the gallery hallway when she saw it, a painting she hadn't noticed before. Dusty, half covered by a cloth. It was of Ava, painted in sunlight, laughing, holding the twins, just babies. Underneath the painting, a small inscription, "For the love I tried to bury, but never could." Isla touched the edge of the frame, and whispered, "They'll remember her now." Have you ever tried to protect someone by hiding your own pain? Tell us in the comments. Should Isla forgive Ethan for hiding the truth so long, or was it unforgivable? It had been 3 days since Ethan showed the twins the box. 3 days since he really held them. Something had changed in the mansion. It wasn't just warmer, it was lighter. Sunlight filled corners that used to be dark, and laughter came without apology. Isla entered the kitchen expecting silence. Instead, she was met with flour everywhere. On the counter, in Lena's hair, across Liam's cheeks, and in the middle of it, Ethan Rourke, rolling out dough like a man possessed. "Pancakes," he muttered. "I promised them." Isla blinked. "You're cooking?" "I Googled it." Lena laughed. He watched 4 videos and still burned the first batch. Liam grinned, but he didn't give up. Ethan looked up, flour on his cheek. "Don't say it," he warned Isla. She bit her lip. "I wasn't going to." "Yes, you were." A long pause, then a smile, real, unforced. And just like that, something passed between them. A warmth, a hum, the kind of silence that feels full. Later, they took the kids to the park. Not the private one behind the estate walls, a real park, with chaos, noise, crowds. Lena made a friend. Liam skinned his knee and cried to Ethan, not Isla, and Ethan held him. No hesitation. Isla watched it all like a woman seeing spring after a 10-year winter. On the way back, the twins ran ahead with the driver. Ethan and Isla lagged behind. The street was golden with early evening sun. The air smelled like fresh bread from a nearby bakery. A violinist played on the corner. Ethan stopped walking. "I forgot what this felt like," he said. "What?" "Peace." Isla nodded. "Grief robs you of that." He looked at her. Long, quiet. What if I'm starting to feel again and it breaks me? She didn't smile. She just stepped closer, then let it. He reached for her hand, not quickly, not confidently, like a man touching fire for the first time, wanting the warmth, fearing the burn. Their fingers met, her breath caught, but she didn't pull away. The twins had gone to bed after a movie night filled with popcorn and half-hearted arguments about bedtime. Isla stood on the balcony, sipping tea. Ethan joined her without a word. They stood in silence, shoulder to shoulder, the stars above them like scattered glass. He broke the quiet. Why do you still care? About them? About me? After everything? She didn't answer right away. Then softly, because I know what it's like to be the one no one stayed for. He turned toward her. Something in his eyes had changed. Not hardened, not guarded, but open and afraid and wanting. Isla's breath hitched as he slowly leaned in, but she stopped him just before their lips met, not out of rejection, but reverence. This can't be a reaction, she whispered. It has to be a choice. I'm trying to choose, he said. Then do it when the storm's not the reason. Just as they turned to go in, a voice called from the hallway, Daddy? Lena. Ethan knelt as she ran into his arms. I had a bad dream, she whispered. He didn't flinch, didn't look to Isla. He picked her up, carried her to bed, held her until she fell asleep, and never once let go. Have you ever stopped something good out of fear it came too soon? Drop your comment in the comments. Should Isla let Ethan in? Or wait until she's sure it's not just grief that's bringing them close? The morning after the balcony, everything felt lighter. The twins were joyful. Ethan was present. Isla found herself humming while pouring cereal. It felt like a dream until the doorbell rang. The man at the door wore a navy suit, sunglasses, and a bitter smirk. Isla Morgan, he asked. She blinked. Yes. He handed her a manila envelope. You've been served. Ethan appeared just in time to hear that. What is this? He asked, eyes narrowing. But the man was already walking away. Isla stood frozen, envelope in hand. Inside, court papers, custody filings, a petition from her ex-husband, trying to claim parental rights for a child that no longer existed. A child who'd been dead for 4 years. Micah. The name still made her heart seize. She dropped the papers like they burned. Ethan picked them up. He scanned the header, then stopped cold. Micah Rourke? Isla's breath hitched. Wait, what? He held the papers up. You were married to my cousin. The words fell into the space between them like a dropped grenade. Ethan stepped back. You knew my last name. You knew my kids' names. And you never thought to mention you were married to Micah's father? I didn't know you were that Rourke, she cried. Micah never talked about you. He was cut off from the family. You expect me to believe that this entire thing is coincidence? No, I didn't come here to find you. I came to survive. His eyes hardened. What else didn't you tell me, Isla? Her voice cracked. Nothing. Just that. I swear. And what? Now your dead child's father is dragging my family name into court over a tragedy that nearly broke you? I didn't file anything. I haven't seen him in years, but you brought it here. He snapped. You brought you here. Into my home. Into my children's lives. With this mess trailing behind you. Tears filled her eyes. I never wanted to hurt you, she whispered. That's the thing, he said, voice cold. You already did. The twins heard the fight. They stood at the stairs, watching, listening. Lena reached for Isla, but Ethan stepped in. She needs to leave. Silence. Isla looked at the children, her heart breaking. I didn't lie to you, she said softly, but the door was already closing behind her. She packed slowly, not because she wanted to, but because her legs barely worked. She left the envelope on the nightstand, next to a note, just 4 words. I didn't know, Ethan. No goodbye, no defense, just truth. For the first time in weeks, the mansion returned to silence. No hot chocolate, no laughter, no warmth. The twins withdrew. Lena wouldn't speak. Liam smashed the pancakes Ethan tried to make. He didn't yell. He just stood there, lost. She ended up at a roadside motel. Cheap, quiet, nowhere. She curled on the bed with her journal, clutching the picture of Micah. Why now? She whispered to no one. Why now? When I was finally starting to live again. She wept until there was nothing left to cry. Days passed. He didn't sleep, didn't eat. He replayed their conversations. The warmth, The soft glances, the truth in her eyes. He read the note again. I didn't know Ethan. And suddenly, he did believe her. Not because he wanted to, but because he knew her, and he had let her go anyway. Have you ever ruined something good because fear made you see the worst in someone? Tell us in the comments. Should Ethan go after Isla, or is the damage already done? Isla had stopped counting the days. The motel room was clean but lifeless. She worked part-time at a nearby bakery, just enough to pay for the basics. She didn't touch her journal. She didn't hum. She didn't smile. Her phone stayed silent, until one day it didn't. They miss you. I miss you. If you ever want to talk, no explanations needed. Just come. Isla stared at the message for a long time. Her hands trembled, but she didn't respond. She needed to be sure. That same night, Ethan sat with the twins in the garden. The sky was clear, the stars scattered like a memory. Liam was quiet. Lena clung to his side. Why did she leave? Lena asked. Ethan took a deep breath. Because I didn't trust her. Liam looked up, but she never lied. I know, Ethan whispered. I was afraid. I thought if I let myself believe in her, and it wasn't real, I'd fall apart. Do you love her? Lena asked. His throat tightened. Yes, he said simply. The twins exchanged a glance. Then Liam whispered, so go get her. That night, Isla wrote him a letter. She never meant to send it, but she needed to write it. I came to your house to do a job. I stayed because I found a family. I know I didn't come with clean lines or easy history, but I came with truth, with kindness, with love, and somewhere between bedtime stories and broken pancakes, I think I fell for you. Not the billionaire, not the name, you, but I need to know that when you choose me, it's not out of guilt, or loneliness, or fear. It has to be love, because that's the only thing I have left to give. She folded the letter and tucked it into her journal, next to the photo of Micah. It was a Tuesday when Isla woke up, went to work, and realized she couldn't keep pretending. Not because she missed the mansion, but because she missed them. The way Lena tucked herself into her side without words. The way Liam tried so hard to be brave. And yes, the way Ethan looked at her like she was sunlight in a world full of marble and silence. She clocked out early, took the longest route home, and stopped at the gate. The mansion stood before her, unchanged, but she had changed. Ethan sat in the twins' room. They were building a puzzle, quietly, and then a sound. The front door, footsteps, the creak of familiar shoes. He stood slowly, so did the twins, and when he turned the corner, she was there. They stared at each other for a long moment. No words, no movement, just breath and disbelief. Isla swallowed. I shouldn't be here if you're not sure. I've never been more sure, Ethan said softly. She blinked. Tears welled in her eyes. But what if it happens again? What if the past keeps showing up? He stepped closer. Then we face it, together. Liam ran to her first. Lena wrapped her arms around Isla's waist, burying her face. And Ethan, he held them all. One hand on Isla's back, the other around his children. And for the first time, they all fit. Is love a risk worth taking, even when history says it might hurt? Comment below. If you were Isla, would you have come back? Or stayed gone to protect your heart? It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was real. That's how Isla returned to the Rourke household. Not as a nanny, not as a guest, but as something more. The twins were the first to set the rules. Liam, no leaving without hugs. Lena, no more secrets. Isla agreed to both. Ethan added a rule of his own. No more walls. It was harder than it sounded, but day by day he tried. The house was different. The nursery camera, gone, replaced by a small shelf of bedtime books. The office, unlocked. Sometimes, Isla worked from there, typing while Ethan paced through deals. And every night, when the twins slept, they sat together, on the same couch. No words needed, just warmth, presence, peace. It was a Thursday evening, when Ethan made his move. Dinner was set outside, candles, soft jazz, wine. The twins were with his sister for the night. Isla stepped out, barefoot, wearing a loose navy dress and a trace of nerves. What's this? She asked. something overdue, Ethan replied. They ate, laughed, talked about the little things, until the air turned soft and serious. I used to think I had to be made of stone, Ethan said quietly. That grief meant silence, that love had to be earned through control. He looked up at her. But then you showed up. She blinked back tears. You taught me how to hold pain without letting it poison everything. He took a deep breath, and how to love without measuring it. He reached into his jacket pocket and placed a small velvet box on the table. Isla gasped, opened it slowly. Inside, not a ring, but something far more personal. A gold locket, etched with the names Liam, Lena, Micah, Ethan, Isla. She touched it, eyes wide. It's beautiful, she whispered. I wasn't asking for a promise, he said. Just a beginning. She looked up at him, heart trembling. I wasn't sure I'd ever be able to love again, she whispered. Not after Micah, not after everything. She reached across the table, took his hand. But somehow, you made space for all of it. All of me, he smiled. Then stay. She didn't hesitate. I already did. The wedding was small, in the garden. The twins walked Isla down the aisle, Liam in suspenders, Lena scattering blue petals. Ethan wore no tie. Isla wore no shoes. She carried a locket around her neck, and a smile that broke the sky open. There were no vows read from paper, just whispered promises between two people who had lost everything, and still chose to believe in more. The house was full of sound, not just noise, but life. Books stacked, paintings crooked, a dog snoring under the table, pancakes burning. Again, Liam and Lena ran through the hallway, chasing each other. Ethan caught Isla by the waist and spun her once, just because. She laughed. I burned them again, he said. I think that's part of the magic, she smiled. He leaned down, kissed her forehead, and whispered, I never thought I'd find this again. She looked at him. Neither did I. Then reached for his hand. Their fingers laced, naturally, like they had always been meant to. That night, as the kids fell asleep and the rain began to patter outside, Isla lit a flashlight beneath her chin, made ridiculous voices, told a bedtime story she'd written just for them. One about a lonely king, two wild little dragons, and a woman who taught them all to feel again. Liam giggled, Lena curled into her side, and Ethan stood in the doorway, watching the scene, his heart full, his eyes wet, because somehow she had done the unthinkable. She hadn't just lasted longer than 2 days. She had saved them all. Have you ever thought you were too broken to love again, only to be proved wrong? Tell us in the comments, what part of this story hit your heart the hardest? And would you have taken the risk Isla did? Thank you so much for watching till the end. If this story captured your heart, the next one will absolutely blow your mind. It's even more thrilling and full of twists you won't see coming. Don't miss out. Just click the video appearing on your screen right now and dive into the next chapter of the adventure.